The rest of the chair has not had the pattern. Now we are adding the pattern, and it's a stripe, so it's really distinctive. We have to make sure that we get this right. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to find the center of my fabric, and I'm going to use my 2 stripes to find my center. That's easy, just by folding it in half and matching up the stripes. Then I can put a pin right here, and that's my center, and I'll do that all the way down the fabric to find my center. Then I also need to find the center of this area right here. So I'll measure, I'll fold the measuring tape in half, that'll give me a center mark, and I'll make just a little pencil mark to mark that, and then I'll do the same down here at the bottom. I can't show you that right now. Down here, down there, so that I can then take the fabric and match it up to the center on the chair up here and the center on the chair down here at the bottom. All right, so you see I've run some of the staples across here, and then I've started down on the side here, and you really have to feel for the channel. At least on my chair, I'm having a harder time feeling through all these layers for the channel of where to staple in, and I don't want to accidentally staple on the frame. That piece of foam helps to, it's a little bit of a problem, but it's necessary. And I'm cutting away this excess, and I'm only going to go as far as right here, because the way that I'm going to do this extra fabric, you'll see here in a minute, but I don't want to cut too much of the foam away. I'm sorry, the batting, so I'm just being very careful. I think I have it at about the right place, so I can get rid of this excess here. There we go. And then I can finish running my staples along this edge here. I'll do the same thing on the other side and get myself to this same point. All right, this is what we're going to do with this piece here. I've kind of tested it out over here, and I want to show you exactly what I'm doing. So remember, I cut the piece here because this is where it's going to go. I gave myself plenty of extra. It actually is going to go down to this point here because that's where the decorative frame ends. And I did the same with the batting, and I got rid of all the batting up above. So I have that. I have this piece of batting. Remember that first piece of batting, and then I have my foam. I'm going to cut away some of this excess, but ultimately what I will do is wrap all of those layers around this foam. Without the bulk, it'll be a little bit better, and I'll do a better job of folding it. And then we will tuck it through to the back, and once it's pulled nice and taut from the back, that's going to help it to lay down. I'll get rid of some of this bulk in here, and we're going to staple it just to this point. We can't staple it here, but when I pull it through the back, we're going to staple it down to the back of the frame. I'll show you when we get there, but that's where we're headed. And I wanted to mention...
I'm not sure I understand.
That was Siri. I wanted to mention one other thing. Did you notice that my chair fell off? So, you know, I have this board that I've been moving around. I've got the chair on it. My chair barely fits on this board. Look at this. Really, I should have had a bigger surface to work on. This is the one that I use for painting dressers, and it's perfect for that because it doesn't get in my way, but I can move the dresser around anyway. The chair was a little bit too big. I didn't feel like making a new one, so I've just been battling with this thing, this whole project. All right, so because I have a stripe design with this definite pattern here, you can see, I tried to make sure that I folded back the same amount on this side that I did on this side. Before I staple anything on the other side, I'm going to make sure that it's nice and even because you will see that. Another thing that I did, remember here that I cut right here, and I said I was going to cut off a little additional. I decided not to do that and instead to just fold it right there. Now I'll still staple it and the trim will cover it, but I just wanted to give myself plenty of leeway right here that the fabric won't fray in that area. So for now, I'll finish stapling around the top. Oh, let me point out one other thing. Here at the top, you'll notice I got a little too close. I really should have pulled that fabric up a little bit right here to go past it rather than trying to line it up. I hate to make excuses, but my dog was in the background being a pain, and I just wanted to get that part done. So that's what I did. That's a little too close for comfort. I'm going to add a couple of extra staples just to make sure that it's secured down nicely. One last thing I forgot to mention. Remember how we had to make that Y cut back here so that when we pulled this part here through, part of it could go to the side and then part of it could go to the back, and we could attach it at two different places to make sure that this area was completely covered. We need to do the same thing here, because when this gets tucked back, let me show you here. Right here is that frame. Remember the frame that we've been talking about runs all the way down. We need to have some fabric going over that way, and we also need to have it going that way on either side of the frame, kind of like a Y, so that we make sure that we don't have any fabric showing. So I might have to make another one of those cuts in this fabric in order to make it Y off of either side of that piece of wood frame that's right here. Okay, so I've run into a little bit of problem, and that's okay because, you know, when you find a problem, when you come across a problem, you just have to think really hard to solve it. So remember, here at this center back, this area right here, we have it folded around the batting. We talked about that. And it's going to get this area here will be pushed through and pulled all the way through the back and stapled. The problem is that if by chance this moves a little bit, that row of staples right there would be exposed. Now I'm going to pull this. When I pull that through to the back, I'm going to pull it as tight as I can. But over time, as people sit here, I'm afraid that it's going to get moved a little bit and those staples would be exposed. So to solve that, this is what I'm going to do. I'm still going to fold the fabric around the batting and pull it through. But before I do that, I'm going to take a strip of folded fabric. You see right there, that strip of folded fabric, and I'll have the fold showing here. This is basically covering up those staples. Let me show you. It's covering up that area, and I've got it pushed way up under here, and I'll reach up there and put a staple up there, and then I can take this tail of that strip of fabric through to the back and staple it really tight, and that will be like a cover over top of that row of staples, so that if this gets moved at all, what would show would be that little bit of fabric instead of the row of staples, and I prefer that, so that's what I'm going to do. All right, so I'm going to call it quits for today. Let me show you as far as we've gotten. So we've got the back done. We have those two pieces. Remember the folded pieces of fabric in there. You can see a little bit of it on each side. That's okay, because remember, we will have a cushion right here. So for the most part, that won't be seen. And even if it is, it matches. And you might also notice that I'm not perfect there on the edges. It's close enough for me. And I have a little bit of a warble in that one stripe there, but I'm okay with that. I'm not a professional upholsterer. This is for our home, and I'm really happy with this. Let me show you what the back of this section looks like. All right, here's the back of it. And remember, we pulled that fabric through. That's this section here along with that batting. Pulled it all the way through. I pulled it nice and snug and stapled it along the top here. Now the extra pieces that were folded and pulled through, I pulled through on the other side of this arm, and that is what this is right here. And then I stapled it into that. You don't want to staple it on the back here because it would show through when we attach the outside back. So you would stick that, staple that to the inside there, just like we did to the inside here for that other piece when we were putting on the deck. And let's see what else. So here on this outside arm, I had a lot of batting that was left over. I cut away the bulk and I just tacked it down to hold it in place, because the next thing that we will cover are the two outside arms, and then we will do the outside back. I told you that the room gets to be a disaster, so here is my workspace. You see my cutting table, the chair that I keep moving around, my stool, the scraps of fabric, my tripod for the camera, the lights. I got a light there, I got another light here. I mean, I don't know how, but I always wind up working myself into that corner. It's kind of funny. And then my compressor, of course. There's my compressor box. So there you go. It's 6 p.m., 6:30 p.m. I'm beat, and I'm going to try to get this video uploaded, edited, and uploaded as soon as I possibly can. And we will see you next time, because we have the outside of that chair to get finished. See you then.